What's cooking, good looking? I'm your host, the plane stealing, the boat riding, the restaurant sitting, the kangaroo boxing, host with the most, Ethan A. Dobbins, and welcome to the first episode of The Sports Addict. Oh man, it's good to say that, man. So today is all about the future of the NFL and the NBA. Now, more specifically, my first topic is going to be on how on earth can the Browns actually turn into a respectable team. Now, it's a near impossible task, just considering we are talking about the Browns after all. But even though they did finish 0-16, they had the whole parade for finishing 0-16, I think there is some hope. You know, there's a good future, I believe. It's a very young team. But I want to take you guys back to 2013. I don't know what you guys were doing in 2013. I was in middle school, so like 7th grade. God, 7th grade. I was pretty dumb in 7th grade. I never reached honor roll, which is like a 3.0 GPA. I was always getting C's and D's. And I was getting like 10 detentions a year. It was a good time for me. It was a good time. I was partying around, you know, trying to be like the cool kids. But just to get back on point, John Dorsey is the man I want to talk about, who is the new Browns GM. He signed with them in December 2017. Now, in 2013, he was on the Chiefs. He was just hired after working with the Packers from 2001 to 2011, where he won the Super Bowl in 2010, and he drafted, you might have heard of these people, Aaron Rodgers and Clay Matthews, two superstars on each side of the ball for the Packers. Now, over the next 4 years, so he's on the Chiefs now. He's signed after the 2012 season. His job is to turn the Chiefs into a competing franchise after they finish 2-14 with Matt Castle at quarterback. Now, the Chiefs have always been good, or at least recently they always have been, and a big reason for that is John Dorsey. Because when you have Matt Castle as your quarterback, how the hell are you supposed to win a game? Like, Matt Castle was a 7th rounder from the Patriots. Pretty sure he plays for the Titans now as like a 3rd or 4th stringer. Like, it's just waste of space in my opinion. I'm not totally going to rip on Matt Castle. He has decent career statistics. Like 115 passing touchdowns, 87 interceptions. Something like that. So, the first major thing Mr. Dorsey does is he does some trades. You might have heard this one. He got Alex Smith from the 49ers, a backup quarterback to Colin Kaepernick at the time, for a 2nd and 3rd rounder. Alex Smith, you know, reached the Pro Bowl this year, had an amazing season, led the Chiefs to a great record. And he also drafted Mr. Eric Fisher, number 1 at left tackle, and Travis Kelce. You might have heard of him in the 3rd round. You know, he's a pretty good tight end. Probably the best besides maybe Gronkowski. That's the only argument you could really make. So, in his first season, he doesn't just turn a 2-win team to like a respectable 6, 7, 8-win team. He turns them into a motherfudging 11-5 team. A dirt pile team into a respectable team. He's done it before. So, and he did it with arguably the best linebacker core in all of football, with Tamba Ali, Derek Johnson, and Justin Houston all making the Pro Bowl. I mean, you gotta make, that's just absolutely incredible. And in the process of his 4 years at the Chiefs, you know, we already talked about how he drafted Aaron Rodgers and Clay Matthews. So this guy, you know, he has an eye. He knows what he's doing. He's also drafted Marcus Peters. You might have heard of him as well. Kareem Hunt, and a man from, I believe, Southern Alabama in the 6th round, the fastest wide receiver in the league, without a doubt, the cheetah himself. He's not even human, Tyreek Hill. So pretty good. So right now, Dorsey, I think he's pretty happy at this time. I mean, he's got 4 picks in the top 2 rounds. He's got 2 picks in the top 5. I might think the Browns need different, like, players than what Dorsey thinks. You know, he might think he needs a quarterback. I honestly don't think the Browns need a quarterback. I think Kaiser is a decent franchise player. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar or anything, but I have the Browns needing a right tackle, a halfback, a wide receiver, and a corner. So, if we're going to argue the whole quarterback situation, Kaiser, whatever, Kaiser sucks. He's so bad. He's not that, in my opinion. And even though I would say this draft will have a superstar in it, and then a lot of people saying, oh, the Browns didn't draft this guy. Oh, they didn't draft Deshaun Watson. They didn't draft Carson Wentz. I mean, there's probably going to be a superstar quarterback in at least every single draft class. You saw Dak Prescott 2 years ago. You saw Deshaun Watson this one. It's just a matter of timing, and some players are just more motivated to be better earlier on than others. And, a lot of people make the comparison with Baker Mayfield about Johnny Manziel, how they're so alike. They're uncontrollable. They let their emotion get ahead of them. They make really poor decisions. I think Josh Rosen's a lot more like Johnny Manziel, honestly. Because Johnny Manziel had a lot of potential, just like Rosen does, but he sort of didn't need football. Johnny Manziel did not need football. He has a big brand. He has money. He knows what he's doing. He came from money. He did not need football. Obviously he wants to play in the Canadian Football League too. Like right now, I guess he's gotten that urge back, but he didn't really need it. Rosen is the same way. He doesn't need the money. He's just playing because it's something he wants to do. But he stated that, Rosen's he's such, I don't want to say anything totally outright, like, roasting him to death, but, on social media, he makes a lot of big claims. I know about Alabama, he made something like, everyone that goes to Alabama on the football team doesn't even go to school, something like that. They're just there to play football, and which is partly true. But he has a lot of off-the-field issues, too, like that, with the social media side. And Rosen also said that he does not want to play for the Browns. He does not want to get drafted. So it's sort of like Eli Manning back when he was drafted by the Chargers, saying he doesn't want to play for the Chargers, whatever. He gets traded for Phillip Rivers, and everything in the NFL balance everything is balanced. But Darnold is another person who people would consider as a number one pick. And I would say both these quarterbacks have regressed this season from what was predicted of them. Like Rosen finished this season 6-7 at UCLA. He finished 4-8 the previous year. Darnold has had a lot of turnover issues at the college level, which is a serious problem, considering most college quarterbacks coming into the NFL don't have really bad numbers. Like you look at Cam Newton, he won the Heisman. You look at Baker Mayfield, he has 43 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions. These are guys who dominate in college, and then when they go to the pros, it's sort of a tough jump. So why would someone who's struggling in college suddenly be good in the pros? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Obviously it happens, but with quarterbacks, it's really less of an occurrence, I would say that. But in response to everyone saying that Kaiser's not good enough, I wanted to sort of argue his case with a lot of statistics because Kaiser ranked 24 out of 30 quarterbacks in passing yards this season, which is ahead of number 3 pick Mitchell Trubisky. He also is number 3 in rushing touchdowns among quarterbacks. Number 3. Only Dak and Newton had more rushing touchdowns than him at quarterback. They both had 6, so only one more than him. He was also 4th in rushing yards among quarterbacks. So clearly, he has potential as a runner, and that's not a bad trait to have. All he needs is really to develop a good passing game, to stay in the pocket, and he should be a really good quarterback. I don't see why people are giving up on him. He was a second rounder. He clearly won his job over, I think it was RG3. I don't know if RG3 was cut, but there was 2 other quarterbacks. I'm blanking, but he's got potential in my opinion because he doesn't have a ton of weapons to really work with. You look at the offensive line. Joe Thomas was injured with a triceps injury. It was his first injury, like as a pro, I think, because he had that enormous streak. So he might have been injured, but he kept playing regardless. So his offensive line gave up the 7th most sacks in the NFL. So obviously Kaiser's to blame as well, but he's getting pressured a lot. And they gave up the most quarterback hits in the league. So any quarterback that's coming into the Browns is going to get absolutely bamboozled with hits. They're going to get barraged. They're going to get mentally destroyed by hits. Like, imagine as a quarterback, you're getting hit that much every game. You're a rookie. You're going to be like, oh, man, this is a long season. I got to deal with this for the rest of my career. I don't think a lot of quarterbacks really want to deal with that. And I can't see Rosen or Darnold coming into a situation like that and they're just going to thrive. Like, seriously? That's a tough argument to make. So, even though he was hit the most amount of times, and let's face it, his best wide receiver is Josh Gordon, a man who's missed over 50 consecutive NFL games. So again, not a lot to work with there. He did have the second lowest completion rate. Again, his wide receivers are not the best. You saw in Week 17, Corey Coleman drops an absolute dime right through his hands. And they could have won that game. They really could have beat the Steelers in their second team, I guess. Now, a main issue, because Kaiser gets pressured a lot, is he had the most interceptions in the league. He threw 6 more than the second worst, Cam Newton. Kaiser had 22 interceptions. Newton had 16. He also had the worst quarterback rating. Oh, I nearly hiccuped there. I don't know if you heard that. But even though he's clearly had struggles, a lot of rookies do have struggles. Peyton Manning had struggles. He threw 28 interceptions in his first season. He was terrible as a rookie. A lot of people considered him as a bust, and Leaf, they considered him to be, better after their first season. But if you give Kaiser time, I really think he can be a decent quarterback and at least lead the Browns to a respectable record. I don't see why Dorsey needs to replace him straight off the bat. And let's face it, you don't really need a superstar quarterback to get into the playoffs in the NFL. You look at the NFL, the Final Four right now in the playoffs, you have Case Keenum, you do have Tom Brady, but you have Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles is in the championship game right now. Not the Super Bowl, but he's in the AFC championship game. That's sort of like a testament that you don't need a great quarterback. I mean, seriously, Blake Bortles. What's that guy ever done? I mean, he had more rushing yards and passing yards than, the first playoff game. I still love Blake Bortles, though. Whatever. But Cleveland is right now bottom in the league in points scored because, their offense struggled a lot. They're second worst in points allowed, which is, a correlation with points. If you're not scoring points, you're most likely going to be giving up points because you're on defense more often. They had the worst turnover differential in the league, which killed them because Kaiser threw a lot of interceptions. The defense did not make many plays this year. But on the flip side, their defense wasn't that bad. They really were probably mid-table, maybe even upper mid in the league. They were probably top 16 in my opinion because they gave up the 7th least amount of rushing yards in the NFL. But the problem is passing yards, they were sort of mid-table. But they were 14th in the NFL in total yards allowed, so not bad at all. But again, a lot of that has to do with field positioning. A lot of the teams that are coming onto the field probably have good positioning because Kaiser threw a lot of picks. But when you look at their linebackers had a terrific season. You see Kirksey and Schobert, both were top 4 in the NFL in tackles. So linebacker is not an issue with the team. Dorsey does not need to actually replace those guys in the draft. They're totally fine at linebacker. And to go to the running game now, Duke Johnson and Isaiah Crowell are who I'm going to talk about. So Duke Johnson's right now 24 years old. He didn't do that good this season in the rushing game. In fact, Kaiser had more rushing yards than him. And Johnson is fairly undersized. He's only 5'9", 210, so not a typical NFL running back that's going to last a long time. But where he really thrived was receiving. He was Kaiser's top target. Kaiser threw 700 receiving yards to Johnson. So he is one of those guys that's sort of fitting the new mold of running backs where they're now a lot more involved in the passing game. You see Kareem Hunt, Alvin Kamara, Le'Veon Bell, always big pass-catching backs. You can, at least predict that they're going to get at least 5 catches a game, maybe 40, 50 yards. So they're clearly a new wave and a new sort of revolution in the running back position. Isaiah Crowell, he's more of a bigger back, sort of change of pace. He's going to be a free agent, and I think Crowell should lead the team. He's a decent running back, but no one's really going to be, oh, God, we're facing Isaiah Crowell this week. We got to really plan against him. We got to plan on stopping him. No one's really saying that because Crowell is not exactly the best running back in the league. But now to go into the draft and what I think Dorsey should do to improve the Browns. I think the Browns have a lot of potential and a lot of ways they can actually utilize these top 5 picks. So first, I have a few names listed. Saquon Barkley is the first one that really pops into my head here as a possible fit with the Browns. He looks like the best player in the draft. A lot of people have said he is the best player in the draft. And you just look on Instagram after every Penn State game, there seems to be a highlight tape of him hurdling or juking somebody. It's just insane the amount of capabilities and possibilities you have with him as a kick returner, punt returner, wide receiver / running back. He fits the mold of a Le'Veon Bell, in my opinion, except bigger. He's 5'11", 233 pounds. He's going to be hit-sticking people nonstop. But the only argument really against Barkley is this is a stacked running back class. Like, it's actually insane. Because you have him, Darius Geis from LSU, TJ Love from